Hello and welcome to section 5. We will talk about other useful tips and tools. The first thing we will talk about is some useful scripts for faster development. Let's go to the code. So here we have our package.json. The first scripts that we have in the beginning is start and test. These are the ones that we can run like yarn test and yarn start. In some videos later, we added a few more. We added StartSee and StartStory, StartStoryC, and Storybook. StartSee is basically the same as start, but it will call it with reset cas. StartStory was specifically for the storybook, and it was calling yarn start, but specifically with the environment variable of show storybook. And StartStoryC was exactly the same as StartSee, but with the storybook. Finally, the storybook is just starting the storybook web server so we can open it on our browser. In one of the other videos, we added post install so we can install React Native Debugger. Now let's look at a few extra ones. The first script we will add is startbg, start background. This will run yarn start, but it will have it in the background. Normally, if we do yarn start, our packager will start, but the terminal will stay here. We cannot do anything else. So instead, if we do yarn start bg, it will start it and it will go in the background. That means that here we have our terminal free to do other stuff. Like before, we can add start bgc, which is background clear cache, and it's just calling startc in the background. This stop script is very useful to stop the start background process that we have. Now that we have the packager started, the only way to stop it is we can do yarn stop, and it will find the process and kill it. To explain this script, lsoff will find the process that is using this port. We can go ahead and run it. Now we see that we get all of this. The next one is for isolating the part that we need. So we will basically get the first line and not the header line. The next one is for giving us the specific PID, which is his number. And then the next one will give it as an argument to kill, and running this will kill our process. Now our packager is not running anymore. Another useful command we can add is reset. Let's add this here. Reset is useful for when our packager is having trouble. Reset is very useful for when our packager is having some trouble. It will reset the watchman, it will trash our node modules, it will run yarn install again, and it will remove our temporary. This is not needed often, but every now and then when we need to reset everything, this is useful to have it as a script that we can run with yarn reset. Two other useful scripts are these ones. These will run the React Native application that we have in iOS and in Android. In Android, if you have a connected phone, it will run it on the phone, and if you have an open emulator, it will run it there. For iOS, we need to specify here if we have a simulator or if we want a device, and we can just do device and then add the UDID. This way we can do something like yarn start bg, and then after that we can do yarn iOS, and this will compile and run everything in the same terminal, and we will see it running. While this is building, let's go to the next script. Often we want to have our application running in iOS and Android at the same time, so we can add this script here. The simulator script, it will run yarn iOS and yarn Android at the same time. For this, we need to install this. So we can do yarn add -d concurrently, and it will add this functionality for us. Our build script just finished, so now we will see our application popping up here. And there we go. Another very useful script is when we have a package that is our dependency and we get it from a Git repository. If we come down here to our dependencies, we see that most of them have just a version number. But sometimes if we need to add a repository as our dependency, we would add something like this. Some React Native repo. And then normally it will be like this syntax, git plus SSH, and then the URL of the repository. And at the end, the branch. When we do this, if this package has something that has to be built before it's ready to go, yarn will not run yarn install inside this package. So instead of, if you ever had trouble with something like that, the easiest way to fix this problem is to go up here in post install and do something like add yarn fix git dependency, and then we can create this script by doing something like that. This will ensure that every time we run yarn install in our repository, after the debugger has been connected, yarn fix git dependency will run, and this one will just go to our node modules inside this repo, and then it will run yarn so that it makes sure that it's ready to be used by our packager. Now let's look at some bash scripts that are very useful while we're developing. I have here a scripts folder, and inside it we have a few scripts. Let's start with prepare. Prepare will make sure that we have all of our gems installed if we need this. We'll make sure that we have all of our node modules installed, and if we are using CocoaPods or Carthage, it will make sure that we have that installed too. This is very useful to run in a new computer to set up the project, for example, or if we change branches and many things are different, it's good to reinstall everything and make sure we have the correct versions. This can also be very useful when we run our builds in a CI. I have pod install here that we are using, which is basically just going to the iOS folder and then running pod install, and same thing for pod check and pod outdated, repo update, and pod update. These are all very easy commands to run, but it's easier when we run directly the script. From right here we can just do script pod outdated, for example, and we would get the outdated pods. If you use Carthage, we can do the same to bootstrap and also to update. The next thing we have is for building. This is a build script for beta, and then we have another one for production. They are very similar. Let's look at the differences and let's look at the scripts. The first thing we do is we run this command ls-off like we had in the package. This will give us an exit code that we can check later if this is very useful to see if our packager is already running. If it is running and if it is not, it will return a different exit code. Then we can check this exit code, and if our packager is not running, we will start it. Before starting it, we need to do the prepare, of course, and then start it in the background. If we have the packager running already, or if we just started it, then we can go ahead and build it. To build our application, the easiest way is to use Fastlane, and we have a lane called build beta. If you don't know Fastlane, you should go check it out. It's very easy to get started with, and it's really useful to create builds from the terminal. After building, we will make sure to stop our packager, and if we didn't start it, then we will let it run. After that, we will just return the code that our build returned. The only difference for the build script for production is that we are running a different lane. Last scripts we have in here are the finalize beta and finalize production. Again, these are very similar scripts, and the difference is the naming. The finalized scripts are the ones that will upload the source map, they will upload the symbols, and it will also upload the actual application to the Play Store, on the App Store, or anywhere else. So for the beta, for example, we are creating the source maps. Then we are uploading the source maps. Then we can upload their symbols. And last thing, we are uploading our beta application to Crashlytics beta. For the production, it's basically the same thing. We create our source map, we upload our source map, upload our scripts, and then we upload our application to iTunes. For this specific example, I'm using Bugsnag. to upload our symbols, and the same thing for the source map. It's really helpful to have 3 scripts, like one for preparing, one for building, and one for finalizing, because this can be the exact scripts that we can run on our machine, can be the exact scripts that we can run on our machine, but also on a CI machine.